So we got all the panels cut for this next space hallway project. The client requested a smaller hallway, so it's not as tall, not as wide. It also is T-shaped. But here's all the pieces. Nothing's glued down yet, and I got some cleanup to do on the edges. But I'm going to get started on all of that and do magnet installation, which is so much fun. But having pre-cut magnet holes, yeah, that's a game changer right there. All done on the XCarve from Inventables. So let's get to work. Okay, so everything is glued together. All magnets are in place. All 72 magnets are in place. I used an entire pack of magnets and part of another pack that was already open to hold this bad boy together. So let me show you how it goes together. Okay, we got all the parts glued together, all the magnets installed, all 72 magnets. This project has 72 magnets in it. And they almost trip over each other, as you'll see. I'm going to show you how this goes together, step by step. And hopefully not be in the shot a lot. Cut that out. Okay, so we got the floor. Floor pieces line up as such. And we got the inside walls that go on the ends. The beam here goes on the end. So we're going to put it here. And we'll spin this around later and let everybody see. So that holds those two pieces in place. And over here, we have this panel. And it goes right here at the bottom. And it's holding the floor pieces in place. All right, I'm gonna have to move the camera for this. Here we go. We'll do it right down the hallway here. So we're gonna install the piece here that's a doorway, and then we are going to take the door pieces. Man, that's so dark. And install them behind the door here. And there's a little slider mechanism that I put in so the door slides open. Okay. And then the panel with the beam goes on this end, panel with the beam on that end. And we're starting to get a space hallway, aren't we? Look at that. Boom. All right, now we're going to put on the roof, and we can come back over here for that to show the roof. It's not on fire, I promise. Okay, so the piece that has the porch on it like this, it goes right here in the middle. Okay, and then you've got 3 more of these. One of them, they're a little off. That goes back here for this one. I'll explain in a minute. And then these 2 go right here and help lock all this in place. Right. So let's take a look at what we got right now. So we have the door to the space hallway, and then it is open on both ends all the way down with the door in the back. So now we're going to build the rest of the T-shape, which is this part here. So floor, there's 2 walls, and then an end piece. We'll do it this way so you can see. Now the cool part about this is it can be completely self-sustained Or it can work by itself, rather. I guess self-sustained wouldn't be a good word to use. And that snaps on there. Your roof snaps on here. And then your door pieces, same door on both. Your door pieces slide in the back. Lined up. And there you go. There's that little bit. Now that swings around and sits right here. So after all is said and done, you have a T-shaped space hallway with 2 opening and closing doors. It's going to take 2 hands, I think. Oh, we'll just go that way with it, and then this way. Yeah, might need to trim that down a little bit. So now you can look inside and get all sorts of cool shots and whatnot. Well, it's going to base coat here in just a few minutes. Shout out to Crashbox Intern Frosted Flakes. Might get paid, might not. Okay, got everything base coated and painted gray. I spoke with my client who wants the heavy weathering that I've been doing on these, so we're going to do that. First, we're going to put some stencil decals on. The way I do this is just dry brushing, basically. I dry brush white and then yellow on top of it. And it's just some random stuff. He didn't want anything in particular. He said whatever. So it's got some numbers here and the word Crashbox that I'll work in where they fit. So that's what's up next, is doing the stencils. Okay, so we're going to work on these stencils for the hallway pieces. I'm going to use white and yellow paint. And basically I'm just dry brushing it on. So the funny thing about this is it's going to get completely grimed up. So the precision, any precision I'm using will be completely lost. Probably go a little bit heavier on the paint. You just don't want it to bleed underneath. Alright, so basically you lay down the white to give the yellow a good base. Because if you just do yellow, it won't show it very well. Alright, so let's move to the next one. Crashbox. Never heard of them. I do dull down this tape. These stencils, it's very sticky and it'll pull the paint off. So I basically just put it on my cutting board and rub it around a little bit to get the some of the tackiness off. And these stencils are cut out with a cry cut. And this is, I believe it's called Oramask stencil tape that I use. Could also cut these out by hand, I suppose. Done that before. This is just real easy to get a super clean line to go with the rest of the super clean lines. There's the Crashbox. So we're going to be using Sunny Day. Okay, so here's the finished stencils. Came out pretty clean. They're not perfect, but in this situation they don't need to be, because this is going to get all muddied up here shortly as the layers of weathering start to come on board. So there we go with that step. So let's get started on the weathering process. I did want to mention before we get started on the paint, the inserts here is sewing mesh. It's sheets of sewing mesh, and I just cut it with scissors. You can find this, I believe even Walmart has it in the sewing section. Not the craft cheese, that would be weird. Or Michael's has it. It comes in a million colors. So I put it as inserts there, and then in there, and then a big piece over here in this one. Yep. All right, so we're going to be using a couple different things. There's a layering process I've been doing. The first is, we're using the airbrush for this. The first paint is apple barrel nutmeg diluted down for the airbrush. The other is this stuff right here, Game Color Wash in a sepia shade, and I shoot this through the airbrush, and that's how I'm getting that layered effect on the weathering. So let's see, got some paint loaded in here. I'm left-handed, you'll have to forgive me on this. So basically you just start at the top and kind of pull down. Just kind of a motion where you start closer, and as you come down, you get further away. So that's just a little bit done, but you can see the difference in what it looks like, even with just that little bit of the weathering. So we're nowhere near done even with that one panel. Okay, so we got a pretty good base down with the nutmeg paint. So just to compare again with what we had before. The lights, I'm not sure it's showing that well, but maybe that's better. You can see what a difference it makes already. So we're gonna move on to the sepia tone now. So now we have the sepia color, the game wash color sepia. We're gonna put over this to start building layers. This is a little thicker than the paint. If you can see in there or not, it's a little thicker. So it comes out a little different. So there's our finished product here in this one panel. For those two colors, we're going to go back with a black in just a second with some orange. So that'll be our next color. We'll let that dry for just a minute. So next we're going to do it's pumpkin orange from the Apple Barrel collection, and some just black from Apple Barrel. Mostly black, just a little orange. And it came out kind of gray, but I think some of that color may show up after we get it down. So this is just going to be a very thin, very light stroke here. And just some There we go. Just adding some more depth to the layers here. So there we go with that final black layer on there. So here's where we started, and that's where we are so far with the paint. Okay, so now we're going to do some of the powdered weathering, kind of a rust effect. So we're using ground cinnamon, but wait, there's more. We're also using chili powder. So actually this cinnamon has a mixture of chili powder and cinnamon in it, so it's a little bit more of a color variation. So we're going back to our sepia wash here. I really love this stuff. And we are going to create some wet spots. And from those wet spots, we are going to put on the cinnamon mixture. So we're just going to create these wet spots. And they can kind of be anywhere here. We'll start out with this one. And we've got our mix here. We're just going to shake it on.
Bam!
I'll even hit that little spot down there while we're at it. And then tap it off. And you've started making your weathering effects with the powdered. Boy, that smells great. Let me tell you, chili powder and cinnamon. Somebody's using that in their kitchen tonight. There you have it. That's what the weathered panels are going to look like before they're sealed, anyway. So let's go finish the rest. Just got done with paint and weathering on all the panels here. So this is the same process that we showed in the first panel that we did. It just migrated everything through all the different panels here. A couple pieces are still a little wet, but pretty much it's done. There is a mixture of cinnamon and chili powder here. It smells great, but it's getting sealed. I use a product that I discovered through the dye structure group to seal all of these projects with the cinnamon especially. So it did pretty much random patterns on everything except on the floor pieces. I didn't want to put a whole bunch of this treatment on a floor piece because I was afraid it would get knocked off very easily with posing and whatnot. So what I did is I went in the cracks here and I just added it in the cracks. I just shot some paint in that crack and then put the mixture there. So it just looks like it's nice and crudted up, but that'll seal nicely. And here, the product that I've been using to seal with is this Minwax Fast Dry Polyurethane in clear satin. So any of you that have ever built dioramas before and have probably experimented with, I can do this faster with spray paint, you know what the propellant in spray paint does to foam. It just eats it alive. This does not eat the foam. I've used this probably, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe more projects. This is the second can of it that I've gone through, and it's maybe a little over half empty. So this stuff will work. Let me rephrase that. This stuff has worked in my use. Test it out on the material that you're using. It might be different. I exclusively at this point use the pink foamular foam. I don't know if maybe the green or the blue would react differently, but this is available at Walmart, so pretty much everywhere. It is a little pricey. I think it's $10 for the can, but it does a good job. Got a little setup going here. Couple pieces of colored paper with lights on them here. The open ceiling, you can really do whatever you'll want with it. Just for this exercise, I threw some paper towels up there, and I've got a desk lamp shining on them. Desk lamp over there, and just a little flashlight here. So let's take a peek inside, see what we got. Right down the full shot here, you got a stormtrooper hanging out at the end, and the light kind of coming through there, the green in the background. Swing around to this door. I know these doors do open and close. You got Han hanging out here in this hallway with the pink behind him. That pink really radiates well off of all this. Let's take another peek right here. Our stormtrooper hanging out. So all these panels are removable. You can take the top off and, pose your people the way you need to. Or you can just use parts of it instead of using the whole thing at once. But really happy the way it turned out. I hope my client in Australia really enjoys this and gets some good use out of it. But that pretty much wraps it up. We'll look at some pictures at the end. Make sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and share it. We're just getting started here on YouTube. And you can find us, Crashbox Customs, on all your social media and crashboxcustoms.com. On to the next one.